assalamu alaikum, good morning, khushamdi, ji ayanu, goeiemorgen.
Bakhair Agale, Ni Hao, Chune Shumme, Washmale, Ohio Gozaimas, Guten Morgen, Hola, Bonjour, Privyet, Kaifa Hal, Hale Shuma Chatore, Ahlan Wasalan, Marhaba, Buna, Mucho, Gracias, Swabia, and a very amazing good morning to everybody who's tuned into PTV World and are watching World this morning on a very cold morning over here in Islamabad.
It is,
With me, ladies and gentlemen, I have the very scintillating, the very exuberant, the very marvelous, the very fantabulous Shiza Hashmi and Shahzad Khan. Hello Shiza, how are you doing today?
I'm doing absolutely great. Thank you so much for asking and then calling me all these things. But I have to take this moment to say one thing, though, Shahzad.
sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, for all those living in Islamabad and Rawalpindi, you know that for the last 3 days straight, Shahzad has been working, even live working. You know, recording is somewhat
Yeah,
different, right?
exactly,
Live
yeah.
working and dealing with the audiences and whatnot for 3 days straight, and in such an amazing manner. If you guys were there at the event as well, you know. I am just shocked, and then also really I really appreciate the fact that you're here at work today. I was not expecting you to come.
Thank you very much for that as well. And I think that there's one thing which I would love to share with my audiences as
Okay.
well, and that is that, so ladies and gentlemen, ever since, you know, I was a part of this television industry, I was always, you know, I would raise my hand and, you know, I was always asking for work from Allah Almighty. So yesterday what happened was that I had a little bit of flu and sore throat as well. So I was like, okay, you know, I can actually tell my team that I'm not feeling well, so I might not show up tomorrow.
Right.
And they were very considerate, thanks to all my producers as well. And they were like, okay, you can take a day off and then we'll adjust and whatever. But then while I was on my bed and it was like 2 or 3 in the night, and I was thinking that, you know, you've always been asking for work from Allah. You know, so
Exactly.
you have work tomorrow. Allah has given you work tomorrow in the morning too. So you should actually go. And then I just made up my mind and I started reading, okay, what do I have to prepare for? So while I was preparing, you know, I was just thinking this, that, you know, once I will get done with the show, the kind of high I'm going to get from this, you know, from working, I think is going to be something which I will cherish for the rest of my life
Incomparable.
as well. And for all of those people who are out there, ladies and gentlemen, this, you know, if for once you get this habit of getting an adrenaline rush from your work, I don't think that anybody can stop you. You're unstoppable then.
No, that's absolutely true, and that happens when you are passionate about what you're doing as well.
Yeah.
So I feel like, you know, Shazad, lately we always sort of deliver messages about how
Why
you
didn't you
should-
come though? I mean, ek minute. So my producers came, my entire team came, my makeup artist came, everybody came. Why didn't you come?
I had some prior engagements.
Oh
I'm
my
really sorry about
God,
that.
this is
but
so sad.
No, but I was there in spirit. I was literally hooting for you, I'll tell you
Well,
what.
thank
And
you.
Shazad, you know, when we're talking about how to be passionate about your work, not actually how to be, but to be passionate about your work,
Yep.
that is the only way you're going to achieve results, and it's going to be so rewarding. You know, there are some people who continuously complain about their work, how they hate going to it, how they hate spending hours on their work. It's because it's not really the field they wanted to work in.
Yeah.
So even if you have to sort of, you know, wait for it to come to you, wait for the right thing to come to you.
Yeah.
I mean, please do, because when it does, you will realize how fun and how important it is to actually work for
Exactly.
something that you've dreamt of.
Yeah, and thank you very much for saying that. And you know, I think I will take another minute to thank all of those people who showed up at the festival in my
Okay.
support. So, you know, our general manager Saab, Farhad Anwar Saab was there too as well. Jamshed Saab was there. Vikas Bangash, our producer, was there. My makeup artist Mariam Rajput was there.
Yeah.
You know, then one of our news anchor from PTV News, Varda,
Yes,
was there
Varda
too
was
as
there,
well.
current affairs.
So everybody who took our time, who came and, you know, kind of vouched for me, thank you very much for joining us. And we hope that you guys had fun, and we'll definitely be coming to Lahore now. The next stop is Lahore.
Ooh.
Ladies and gentlemen, we were talking about Soul Festival, if you've been there too as well. But other than
Alright,
that,
yes.
now there are more important things in life, ladies and gentlemen, other than dancing, eating, or doing whatever you feel like.
Right. Shazad, you know, just 2 or 3 days ago, there was this thingy going on Twitter. So basically, a motion was passed in the assembly which spoke about, you know, people who perpetrate violence and abuse against children,
Yep.
you know, molest them or even rape them and then kill them. You know, their punishment was talked about.
Yep.
And a lot of people actually suggested that they should be hanged publicly, while at the same time, a lot of people opposed it.
Yeah.
So, you know, this debate is sort of going on still, and we don't know if it's going to be a bill or not, if it's going to even pass as a legislation or not. This is what we will be talking about in general. But Shazad, you know, the growing trend of child abuse in Pakistan, especially 2000 onwards, I really don't like saying 2000 onwards, because I'm sure 100% it used to happen even before 2000.
Yeah.
Just there was no as such outlet or a platform to speak about it.
Exactly.
Now, alhamdulillah, I really want to, you know, it's really sort of a moment of happiness for me to realize that because of social media and because of all these platforms, people, not only women, people are empowered to come speak about it. Would you
Exactly.
expect someone, would you expect a child or a teenager or any traumatic adult even to come out and speak about what happened to them if it was not for this era? We cannot expect it, right? But now it's
Exactly.
happening. And I think this is something that we need to talk about more often than we do.
Exactly. Thank you very much, Shiza, for saying that too as well. And ladies and gentlemen, recently we have seen that Jami even spoke about
Yeah.
how he actually had to give somebody else a favor, and that too, you know, he was the owner of a media house. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, if we are particularly going to talk about child abuse, let me be very clear on this as well, because people say that, you know, oh, it's against the religion and this and that. Obviously, it is, you know, it is a sin. But other than that, you know, because a lot of, this is how international media has been projecting our religion as well, that, you know, in Islam, people can actually marry a girl of a very younger age. So that's not how it is. I mean, for the kind of information I have is
Yeah.
that for the very first time in her life, if the lady is going to get a menstrual cycle, she can actually get married. I mean, that's
Yeah.
according to our religion. But
It
other
has
than
nothing to
that,
do
there
with
are people
age.
who have been misusing and misleading other people as well just by using the figure of age. That's not how it is. But other than that, if it comes down to child abuse, just last night while I was preparing for the show, I just watched the, late Zainab's video as well, and you know, her parents talking to BBC, and I could feel the pain because, you know, after a year's time, BBC went to their place and they asked whether, you know, you're satisfied because the person was actually hanged, you know, whatever, you know, the case was dealt with, and then the parents said that we are still not sure that other people's children are actually safe. So what are we doing to make our children safe?
And that is actually such an important point that they raised, Shazad, because yes, you can sort of, punish someone who did commit a crime,
Yeah.
but who's to say that there are no more people like him? So I think there are so many things that one need to take in consideration in terms of, punishing such criminals as well. Just to add on a little stats,
Yep,
Shazad,
go ahead.
there's this NGO which specifically works for child protection, against child abuse and child molestation. It's called Sahil, and it works on, the figures and stats of people who have been violated. And it says in 2017, it actually starts from back in 2000 as well. In 2017, it gives a number of 3,445 reported cases of abuse only. And we're talking about reported. In 2017, it keeps increasing, and last year it was in 5,000s and whatnot. And roughly speaking, the NGO states that 9 to 12 cases per day have been reported, Shazad.
Exactly.
It's insane to, even talk about it. They have been reported in either hospitals or even, police stations, whatnot. And it's not just females, ladies and gentlemen, 56% females and 44% males.
Yeah.
It's just
All right,
alarming.
and yeah, ladies and gentlemen, the figures are very disturbing, but I think that it's about time that we actually indulge in a conversation with
Yes,
our
let's
amazing
do it.
guests over here. But first things first, I think what we need to learn is that what actually comes under the umbrella of child abuse.
Okay.
I mean, because our guests before going on air, we were in conversation and they wanted to speak about it. So first we will let you know, what comes under the umbrella of child abuse, and then we'll build up on that too as well. So ladies and gentlemen, with us, an author himself who actually wrote a book about Zainab too as well, and he's a motivational speaker. He's been a regular on the show too as well, speaks very well. He's none other than Mr. Asif Nazir. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning.
Walaikum salam and good morning, Shazad and Shiza.
Good
Good
morning.
morning to
Thank
you
you very
too.
much for joining us. And alongside Mr. Asif, ladies and gentlemen, we've once again been joined by an analyst and an author himself. And he's the one who's actually going to let us know what comes under the umbrella of child abuse. He's none
Right.
other than Mr. Sabauddin. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning.
Well, Islam, it's a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you very much for joining us. It's wonderful to have you. But let's talk about it. What is child abuse? And, I think that it is our responsibility to educate people that a very little thing you did to a kid can actually be considered as child abuse, because people are not even aware
Right.
of, that what comes under the umbrella of child abuse. Please go ahead.
Shazad and Shiza, I really appreciate the topic you have chosen today.
Thank you.
And it's a very sensitive topic. Why I say it's sensitive? Because it's the least talked about topic.
Absolutely.
And normally we label it as a taboo and we do not talk about much. Although it's as simple as telling our children,
Not
to look
eat
either
some-
ways before crossing a highway or wear a helmet before riding a bicycle. It's as simple as that, but we do not talk about it much.
Yep.
And unfortunately, when we talk about child abuse, we only focus on things that we call the acts of commission.
Okay.
Now there are two things: the acts of commission and the acts of omission.
All right.
The acts of commission are the deliberately and purposefully done acts, like physical violence, verbal abuse, even bullying, and exposure of a child to undesired sexual acts. While the actual thing that trigger all this are the acts of omission that are omitted.
Okay.
For example, denial of a child to education,
Oh, yeah.
the economic exploitation,
The basic rights.
engagement of children as child labor, and how many children you see begging on the streets, how many children you find working in the workshops, how many
Right.
children you find working in the industries.
Yep.
So these are all the acts of omission which we normally do not talk about.
Yeah.
Maybe we do not talk about because
Because
they
we're
fall
all-
in the realm of the governance, and we do
Yeah.
not talk about governance much. So these are the things that we normally talk about. But the spectrum of child abuse goes from simple bullying to sexual exploitation.
Right. Okay, that does actually answer, because it's also such a sort of a vast thing that we cannot pinpoint where it begins and where it ends. But coming to you, Mr. Asif, you, as Shahzad mentioned, you already wrote a book about the very infamous case that happened in Pakistan, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone knew about it. This was Zainab Ansari. Everyone was praying for her and wishing that
Yeah.
the person who committed the crime actually gets caught as well. You were in conversation with the family as well, everything. Before we actually move on to the generalized discussion of child abuse, I want you to sort of recall and share with us the things that her family had to, answer and go through in terms of, the society.
Actually, January 2018, 4 Jan, more precisely 2018, this barbarian incident took place. And I was in my routine tour to Lahore. I went to Kasur, and then one of my colleagues showed me the place, that this was the place from where the body was recovered. And Kasur is a small city.
Okay.
And then we went to see Amin Ansari. And when I met that family, honestly, I had no words. They were totally shattered and humiliated, and everybody was talking about. So there I decided to do something for the family.
Right.
And media was talking. So I talked to Amin Saab that why not to write a book about. He said that she was just 6 years old. What you can write about? I said, let me think about. And
Okay.
so in the first part of the book, we talk about the different stories of the Zainab and the families. And then later on, the objective was to talk about this subject, child abuse. And then we mentioned the different stats and the prevalence in the different parts of the country and how we
Right.
can get rid of this. So as Sir very rightly mentioned, that we need to understand this child abuse. So it has got the psychological forms, in the emotional forms, and then the sexual abuse we talk about. When we say this sexual abuse,
Yeah.
normally there's a myth, stranger myth. But the involvement of the stranger is not more than 10%. In 90% cases, the close family members, the children are known to, they are involved in child sexual abuse. More
Absolutely.
precisely talking about, in peripheral areas, the prevalence of child abuse is around 70%. In cities where there is more education, there is a slight more awareness,
Okay.
this child abuse is around 30%, but very close people are involved.
Right.
Why in rural areas it is more prevalent? Because the children are more exposed to the external environment for the schooling, for the religious education, for different
And without
societal.
any sort of accountability as to
Yes.
whoever they're seeing or not.
And for all the activities, they have to move out. The school and the mosque, and for in order to pray, they have to move out. And another important thing is that their family head, their fathers, usually they're out in the cities
All right.
for financial matters,
All right.
and they get back by the end of the day, or on weekly basis or on
Yeah.
monthly basis. So mothers, they do not have that much of control on their kids.
Okay.
So this is the reason that they are more exposed to these kind of sexual abuse. Now the point to understand is that why it occurs. It means if we say that it's because of illiteracy or it's because of the financial matters, means in United States, 400,000 cases reported every year of child sexual abuse. Just
and we
imagine.
think it's in our country. Yeah, so basically
And
it's sort of
yes,
a worldwide
and
thing.
importantly, when we talk about that 7-8 cases per day in our
Yeah, yeah,
country, I very confidently can say that numbers are many
Of
times higher than
course.
these 7, 8, 9 cases per day. So it's really a serious matter to talk about, as Sir very rightly mentioned, that we do not talk about this child sexual abuse because it's a social stigma and something that, it is our religion actually
Exactly.
yes.
Hindering, things
Yeah.
as well. I'm
But
so sorry I have to cut you over here, but actually you've risen quite some points that we need to discuss in detail. While we're short on time, I do actually want to touch upon all of those one by one as well. So to begin with, where you mentioned that what actually, this is for both of you, can we pinpoint the issue where, things go wrong? Can you really say that this person was, let's say, not mentally well, that is why they committed this crime? Is it illiteracy? Is it what not? So can we really, find out what went wrong? Because I was discussing with Shazad as well in the morning that The Nation, actually one of the authors of The Nation writes in an article that this started trending after 2000 when this serial killer Javed Iqbal was reported, and then he committed suicide in his cell. People say that it actually opened a lot of doors for people who wanted to commit crime, knowing that, okay, this is happening. But I feel like that was the one time that media reported it, because before that, let's see, media was flat and dull and not a lot of reporting was going on. So let's start pinpointing where things go wrong. Yes, illiteracy being one of them. Let's start with you, sir.
It's more of a psychological issue.
All right.
Because like when we list down the psychological deviations and the perversions, we have a list of more than 600 perversions.
Okay.
And it's one of the serious ones. And unfortunately, it's a perversion, but the most financially rewarding perversion. The content sold about the child abuse on the dark web
Oh, yes.
goes like in billions. It's a billion-dollar industry. Fine. So it's more of a psychological factor. It doesn't relate to one's economic conditions or the environment, but
Frustration
more
generally.
of a psychology. Now, how the psychological stimulus is triggered, because nothing happens without the stimulus.
Okay,
The
okay.
stimulus is triggered by the domestic environment.
Oh, right.
Right?
Absolutely.
Because when the parents are not, when we normally when we talk about the child abuse, we take it as a subject of policing. Fine, we blame the government, but if you analyze it, we have all the legislations. We have made amendments in Criminal Procedure Code. We have the amendments in Pakistan Penal Code, 377, Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, all amended up till 2018. Fine.
All right.
But what we have not amended is ourselves as society.
Okay.
The parents here do not know how many children they have, how many children are playing outside, in what vulnerable condition they are. So this all starts with the domestic settings and the psychological issues that revolve around domestic settings.
Okay.
And the stimulus, unfortunately, stimulus is created, the created perversions that prevail not in our society alone, but all around the world.
All
Right.
right.
Shiza, another
Yeah,
sort of
go ahead.
very
Everybody has
interesting
got something to say.
very interesting thing is that if you ask me a single reason,
Yeah.
I would say that the people talking about the early marriages,
Yeah.
I would say that as sexual desire is one of the strongest desire we have, and it's your biological need.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the delayed marriages is one of the topmost reasons.
Exactly. Thank you very much for saying that, because that's what I wanted to say too as well, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I'm going to give you a very fair example. So we're in Pakistan or countries where, the Muslim population is in majority. I think what we really need to see is that, there was earlier in the days, because you mentioned 2000, and later on
Yeah,
after
yeah.
2000, we saw that, all of these cases emerged. So ladies and gentlemen, if you go back in time, I think my father and mother got married when they were 18, or my grandfather got married when he was 16,
Right.
so
Yeah.
things like that. And we have never heard such a thing, probably just around the family too as well, that somebody has so much frustration that they are going out looking for kids. Now imagine that in the West, people do not get married, but they still have strip clubs. They have other things to do so that people can go take out their frustration and do whatever.
Absolutely.
So the number of cases is lesser. So rather than putting it more psychologically or on those terms as well, I think it's just frustration. It's mere frustration of the people because they do not have access to their partners, or they do not have partners in their life, and there's no other way we can go about it.
That's true. And Shazad, that is why I'm really sorry to say this out there, especially in the morning. But, the traffic on porn websites from Pakistan, it's the largest.
Yeah.
And I mean, okay, let's not go there. But now coming back to when we were talking about a motion was passed in the assembly where some people were, let's say, supporting it and some not. We're not going to talk about who is and who is not, but please try to explain it to me. When you talk about the mentality who does not support public hanging of a criminal who, blatantly committed a crime such as molestation or abuse or rape, where's that mentality coming from? Is this normal, first of all? And while I do understand you don't want your country to seem bad in front of everyone out there, but you do want to set examples for all the criminals out there, right? So let's begin with you again, sir. Can you explain it to me why someone would, not want it to happen?
You know, the response to violence or response to crime is not crime or is not violence.
Okay.
Right? We have a criminal justice system in place.
Yeah.
There is a system of juvenile court, the system of juvenile prison, there is a system, an entire system, and we have a 2014 Act
Okay.
of for child protection system.
Right, yeah, we do.
In which, in capital city and the federating units, we have a proper system for child protection.
Okay, okay.
But when we come to the legislations, unfortunately, I think the legislators sitting are more reactive, are more emotional than being realistic.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
We can't opt for a thing that promotes violence in a society.
Yeah. Thank you very much for saying that. But let me talk about child protection as well. And I think that one way or the other, I mean, ladies and gentlemen, anybody can have parents where parents are actually not in love with their kids. And you know, it can happen. This is
Yeah.
the world. This is the place people live over here. Now, just recently, yesterday, so it was a festival. There were a lot of people, thousands of people. There was 1.5-year-old kid who got lost. She kept on crying. She kept on crying for 1.5 hours. We kept on announcing that there's a baby girl who's lost. Her name is Fatima. She's wearing these clothes. Imagine that the parents didn't realize that their daughter is not with them for the last 2 hours. Imagine what the baby went through. So, you know, when we talk about child protection, how can we protect children from those vulturistic parents too as well? How do we do that? Because
that's-
over here in Pakistan, nobody's talking about whether the parent is looking after the kid or not.
Yeah,
We are
yeah.
saying your cha-cha, driver, yeah, this and that, whatnot. What if the parent is looking after the kid or not?
Shazad, let me share a very interesting story. A few years back, we were somewhere outside the country and we were, having a show going on. And very next to me on my seat, a 4 or 5 years old young daughter was sitting with her mother. And as she was like my own daughter, I just loved her and kept my hand on her, head. And I was trying to love her, but the way she reacted, because I was stranger to that.
Yeah.
And then immediately she reported to her mother, and then she complained me.
Yeah.
And I was really feeling guilty at that time. You see that it is about creating awareness. Even the childrens, they are so aware, and the people, they have developed their societies to a level that they have got great amount of awareness for the parents and for the childrens as well. And now, as you're mentioning, the few people are talking against and in the favor of the motion.
Right.
As we have seen in this Zainab case particularly, that everybody worked on this, means
Okay.
media and the judiciary and the politicians, everybody was talking about this, and everybody put some effort in this. Now there are two opinions, and you can talk about. I mean, everybody wants to reduce the number of cases, and nobody wants the crime. But those people who are saying that we do not want to hang them publicly,
Yeah, yeah.
means as we as a nation, we actually follow the international things.
Okay.
So as Amnesty International and UN resolutions that you cannot hang people publicly, so they people are actually looking United Nations and their resolutions so as a guideline for them. The sole objective of everybody is to reduce the crime rate.
Right. That's what we
And
want.
for that matter, it's not about hanging people publicly. We do not have, the equipments. How many DNA testing labs do we have?
But can we at least do one to create that sort of awareness? You know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
we should. I absolutely do not have any problem. But the things to work on,
Okay.
we need to develop the infrastructure. We need to have more facilities.
Yeah.
We need to have the trained people where to talk about.
Absolutely.
So these are the things, and these are the areas actually to work on.
While, that is so true. And, then
And as per my layman information, there is only one DNA testing lab by the government which is properly functioning in Punjab.
Oh.
Only
So
one.
how
and
you
Punjab
can
has the highest, ratio of child
almost
abuse.
40% of the total reported cases are in Punjab.
Yeah.
So we need to work to develop the infrastructure. We need
Right.
to have more DNA testing labs. We need to have more trained people.
Okay.
So where to go?
Imagine, I have an example to share over here as well, ladies and gentlemen, that for certain jobs you obviously have this age requirement.
Yeah.
What they do is that they do your bone density test to check whether the age you've written on your ID card is true or not. And I've seen myself that people have manipulated their ages just to get that job too as well, by going to the lab and telling them that we really need this job and please can you do something for us. So yeah, anything can go wrong, but other than that, I think that what the point is very realistic, and that is that we really need to develop our infrastructure to get our hands onto more people who are so altruistic in their acts that they're not even sparing kids out of their frustration.
Right, absolutely. And gentlemen, you guys are actually putting up an amazing sort of an argument as well. I don't want to call it an argument. This is a discussion, yes. But now I'm going to take you back to what Mr. Sabahuddin spoke about. You know, it's more of a psychological issue than it is, you know, a sort of a crime. While yes, it is a crime. Shazad, you know, I can actually name first-hand, you know, without of course naming the person, first-hand instances of how abuse goes on in either a masjid, either a madrasa, either a cadet college, either a hostel in a very popular international university, either in a hospital even, in your own immediate family even. You are not, I don't want to scare you guys, but this is not at all safe. And now when you say that this is psychological, yes, that is true. At that moment in time, something does get on your head and you commit the, you know, worst of the crimes.
Yep.
This actually brings me to a video of a Maulvi Saab who violated and then killed a very young, beautiful guy, right, a boy. And upon him getting caught, he says in a video message that उस वक्त मैं किसी और, you know, I was in a different zone or someone had sort of, you know, taken over me, my mind, शैतान आ गया था, लेकिन अब मैं ठीक हो गया हूँ. So while that is psychological, how can that be reasoning to the grave crime that you commit?
You see, committing an act of crime and using the psychological disorders
As a reason.
Is not an excuse at all.
Yeah.
And the courts, while judge...
But you can get away with that in the court.
Yes, that's what I'm...
You
There are
know,
loopholes.
if you actually prove to the judge that you're not psychologically fit, you can get away with
Yeah,
this.
so many loopholes.
No, Shazad, I will differ here because you know there are 3 steps in the crime.
Okay.
First of all is your intention.
Okay.
If you intend to do something wrong, that is the first step. The second thing is the preparation, that you are preparing to do that. You are calling somebody here and you are, you know, making the environment for that. And the third is committing the crime.
Okay.
The first step is you can be forgiven. You can get away with that, like thought crime.
Yeah.
Right.
You are thinking about it, but you have not done it, that's okay.
Okay.
But if you're thinking about it, you intended, you made the environment and you did it, he will not get away with that.
Yes. Thank you, sir. How would you like to wrap it up?
I would like to wrap it up that it's more sort of biological. It's a less psychological. It is your biological need, and the children are the easy targets.
Yeah.
So when the
They're so
parents
vulnerable.
yes, it's vulnerable, and when you do not take care of your children's, and as you mentioned the example yesterday, what happens if the parents they're not taking care of the kids? Parents awareness, and you know the parents are actually they have to take care of their kids, and they need very close monitorings where they're spending their times, where they're studying, they're alone, what they're watching, and all that stuff. So parents they have a very important role in all this.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for enlightening us about all these things as well. Asif Nazir Saab, Sabahuddin Saab. Ladies and gentlemen, whoever goes through such kind of a trauma, Shazad, it stays with them for the rest of their lives.
Yep.
And in most of the cases, when you become an adult, it is such a, I don't know how to call it, but such of a deep but shallow underlying depression that goes on with you throughout your life, that there are times you do need professional help as well. There are times you need, you know, life coaching as well, mentoring as well, of how to get out of that trauma and lead your life. So I
Exactly.
feel like, Shazad, in the next segment, this is what we will be talking about, how to
Exactly.
counsel someone.
That's
if they have-
something which we will talk about, but then at the same time, I think, ladies and gentlemen, that there's one more important thing which I would love to share over here.
Yes.
And that is that I saw this clip of Miss Fatma Saraya Bajia Saiba, and she said that, you know, we're teaching our kids to, you know, so that in future they have good jobs. We are teaching our kids so that they dress themselves very perfectly fine as well, but we are not teaching them, God forbid, if your daughter gets raped, how to look after your daughter, or probably, you know, if there's a problem in your kid's life, if he does not have a job, how to look after, if you've lost an elderly, how to look after that kid as well. That's not the kind of teaching we are giving. And ladies and gentlemen, today is the death anniversary of Fatma Saraya Bajia as well, so we're remembering her, and Mr. Sadikan as well. So ladies and gentlemen, both of these legendary figures have definitely contributed towards the literature and the arts of Pakistan as well.
Absolutely.
Please remember them in your prayers as well. But right now we're going for a short break. When you guys will come back, we'll actually let you know how to heal yourself from problems.
Stay tuned. Good morning.
Passion for polo will be the highest on the world's highest polo ground. Chandur invites visitors to experience a traditional polo tournament between the teams of Chitral and Gilgit. The tournament is held on Chandur Pass, the highest polo ground in the world, at 3,700 meters above sea level. The first time a polo tournament took place on the Chandur Pass was in 1936. It is a place unique and exotic in itself, surrounded by some of the most spectacular mountain scenery in the world. The event marks the annual rivalry between the teams of Chitral and Gilgit. The polo tournament has some added attractions for the visitors: trout fishing at the nearby streams and lakes, and a festival of folk dances and music of northern Pakistan. The event in itself offers a fascinating insight into the lifestyle of the people of this region. Their culture and indigenous customs are a delight to behold for the visitors. Crystal clear lakes, snow-covered mountains, alpine flowers, and vast stretches of green grass are added attractions. Fairs and festivals of Pakistan.
Welcome back to World This Morning, ladies and gentlemen, with the very energetic, the very inspiring Shahzad Khan and me, Shaza Hashmi. In the first segment, if you were watching, or even if you were not, let me recap, we spoke about how the act of child abuse is sort of growing in our country, not only in Pakistan actually, around the entire globe as well. What are the reasons which may lead to such practices, and how can we actually punish the people who commit such crimes?
Exactly. And ladies and gentlemen, before going towards the break, we actually shared that we are actually going to let you know that, if you have a problem in life and if it persists in your mind as well and in your life as well, how to get rid of that. So ladies and gentlemen, this segment is actually dedicated towards that as well, because I think that there's this one thing which I realized in my life, but I think that I've realized it at a very later stage, that all of these emotions we feel, when we are sad, when we are depressed, when we have anxiety, talking about all of these emotions which take us to another, they take us towards a very negative vibe. So ladies and gentlemen, I think that for me it was good that I realized, but I was a little late on that we really need to recognize the inner emotion. And over here in Pakistan, we have this culture of brushing everything under the carpet, oh, kuch nahi hoya puttar, oh, kuch nahi hoya. That cannot happen, because you cannot suppress that emotion until and unless you're not going to recognize it. It's going to keep on coming back as well. So how do we actually treat our inner self in the first place? That's something we were talking about, and we have an expert on that too as well. She's none other than Ms. Ramal Raja. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning.
Assalam, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. So Ramal, first question is, do you think that this is the right technique to recognize your emotion, may it be a sad one or a happy one?
Exactly. Because everyone thinks that for achieving everything they want and their dream life in their life, the most important thing is struggle. But I say no, not the struggle. It's inner work that makes you able to attract the life you want, and make you able to live the life of your dream. So I focus on the inner work of a person's personality, and to make them able to heal themselves.
Okay. So how do you do that? I mean, let's talk about it. I mean, because you're an expert on that. how do we heal our inner selves? Let's talk about that directly, so that people who are out there, ladies and gentlemen, let's heal ourselves. It's just like an ozone layer, you know, in the outer world. So there's an ozone layer. There's a soul inside you as well, which
Exactly.
protects you from each and everything. You really need to look after the health of your soul. So how do we do that?
I actually help them to heal their inner self through therapeutic and spiritual ways. In therapeutic and spiritual ways, I use different techniques. I heal them through meditation, through mindfulness, through some other, some other
Breathing
therapeutic
techniques.
breathing techniques and also therapeutic techniques to make them aware of their inner self, their inner wounding. Basically, it is our inner wounds which blocks our blessings and which
Right,
blocks
honestly.
everything we want in our lives. Because there is an example, like if you want a car, there are a lot of cars like that in the world, in the universe, but it is not you don't have that.
Yeah.
And why you don't have that? Because of your mind is blocking the blessing with the negative thoughts and with your wounds.
Yeah.
So it's not about the outer struggle, it's about the inner work which will make you able to attract that car in your life.
All right, that does make sense. You know, when you're talking about if you block negativity from your life, that is how you will grow. But Ramal, when I say, and I say this on behalf of a lot of people who do, you know, deal with regular chronic anxiety, let's even say, or chronic depression, the negative wave that hits them, they cannot really, you know, control it at that moment. And at that moment, they would rather like literally pay anyone for them to, you know, take the negative vibes away from them. So for a person who has to start working on themselves, how can they actually practically block negative vibes from their mind or, you know, even coming to them?
They don't have to block negative thoughts. They have to process that.
Okay.
Process in therapy, process in by talking to an expert, by talking to a coach. So I work with youngsters who have, for example, who are moving from a broken relationship. They are trying to let go and want to manifest another partner in their life, their dream partner, and who are confused in their career, career change, career development. If they are not happy with that job and they want to attract another job, so these are all things related to negative emotions, suppressed emotions. So we have to
Right.
process that in order to get everything we want, the dream life or the
All
dream
right.
job or the dream partner.
So, for example, you know, since we are talking about dream life, you know, people can be very different. We have more than 7 billion people all over the globe, and everybody's got different dreams. So, what if somebody dreamt of just sleeping all day long, or probably having no work, or just relaxing? He or she does not want a car, does not want a house, do not want very good clothes. Then, what kind of therapy do you have for them? Because you know, I'm
Motivational
going to be
therapy?
very honest over here. I think that you know, for
Exactly.
everybody who wants a car or wants a house, will be very attracted to what you're saying.
Yeah.
But there are people who are very simple. There are people who want to live a very simple life, and they're already happy with what they have. So for all of those people who actually have so many desires are the ones who are disturbed. So that's a catchy line for them. But what about people who want to live a simple life? What kind of therapy do you have for them?
So if they're happy with the life they have,
Yeah.
then that's okay. If it's work for them, then if they are happy and if it works for them, that's fine.
No, but
They
you know, they
can.
want a simple life, but they're not able to get it. So what kind of therapy do you have for them?
I think then they need some relaxation techniques
Okay.
to apply some mindfulness
Come on, let's
and
do
meditation.
some relaxation today.
Yeah,
I mean,
share
even
with
I
us
want
one
to,
of them.
since
Sure.
we are all overworked, ladies and gentlemen, let's relax with Ramal Raja today. So come on, give us some relaxation technique. Yeah.
Sure.
Let's do it.
Sit in a comfortable position.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is comfortable, I guess.
Anything for you. Like if you are comfortable like this, you can sit like
Yeah,
that.
I'm
Yeah,
very
yeah.
comfortable.
Okay.
Close your eyes.
Don't run away from our studio though.
हाँ पता लगे आँख खुली नहीं है. Yeah, let's
Okay.
do it.
Focus on your breath.
You have to take long breaths.
Yeah, you can. But it's about just focusing on your breath.
It's making me sleepy.
Yeah, it will make you feel relaxed.
I think I'm done. I got all the relaxation I want.
Yeah. And honestly, when you sit down quietly for a while, and when your brain is not overworking or over processing, you can
Right.
relax. But when your brain is just continuously thinking about something, it's so hard to even
Exactly,
relax yourself.
you get overwhelmed, and if you have a lot of thoughts going through your mind, then you are definitely overwhelmed and feel stressed out. So if you sit just with yourself and flow the feelings around from your body, let the feelings flow, and that will make you feel, because all the relaxation is in the present moment, so we miss the present moment, na?
Absolutely.
Exactly.
We worry, thinking about what's going to happen
Exactly.
next and
we
everything.
get anxiety for the future and the pain from the past.
Yeah.
But
Beautiful.
all the healing and relaxation in present moment.
Exactly.
Wow,
Thank you
that's
very much for
beautiful.
saying that, and I think that this is the perfect statement to wrap up the show as well. But thank you very much, Ramal, for being with us.
you.
It was lovely to have you. Thank you very much for giving us some relaxation tips as well. But ladies and gentlemen, all of this is going to start from you
Yeah.
and on you too as well. So please make sure that you realize and you understand and you recognize all your emotions.
Right, absolutely. And I think I'm going to reuse Ramal's word as well, that, we spend all our lives living in the pain of the past and then worrying, with the anxiety of the future. But the relaxing moment is right now. So
Yeah.
take your time, enjoy the present, and, relax in it. If there's anything you need to write to us, write on our Facebook page with the name of
Well, this morning on your television screens right here.
on Twitter,
Well, this morning without a G.
Daily Motion or YouTube.
Well, this morning.
And the repeat you can catch
5
at
past 11 p.m. tonight. Till the next time, 1, 2, 3. Good
morning.
morning.